All right, welcome to Hygiene Elevated Innovations, Conversations and Innovations. We're so thankful to have with us today Fiona, aka Mouthbox, aka Big Sis RDH. It's going to be a pleasure speaking with her today about her career. And I'm co-hosting today with Nicole, Mountain Mama Hygiene, and we're so thankful to be here. So welcome, Fiona.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mhm.
Well, we're really excited to kind of learn a little bit more about you, like we were saying, and your journey. And so we're just going to kind of dive right in. And I'm just interested, what was your journey like getting into dental hygiene? Like, take us back to where it all started and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I think it was a smooth-ish road to get into dental hygiene for me. Initially, my main goal was to be a dentist and go for dental school. So I do have dentists in my family who were a little bit of mentors for me. I used to visit them over the summers, do some level one assisting, and like kind of charting, bring the patients in. So I kind of had an idea of like what dentistry was all about, but not really dental hygiene. So I did start as in dental assisting, and as I was going through dental assisting, I learned about hygiene. I went to apply and I was waitlisted like twice before getting into hygiene. And once I got in, I was like, okay, you know what? This is a lot more involved than I thought this would be. This is actually, pretty close to what I was hoping for with dentistry itself. So I kind of really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of dental hygiene, and I haven't really haven't really gone for dentistry since that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think dental hygiene is so much more than most people really recognize is involved. They kind of just think, okay, you clean teeth, no big deal.
Yeah.
But then once you understand all the biology and everything that goes on systemically, we really have a lot on our plates and a lot we need to know. So I'm so happy that you found dental hygiene, and it seems like you really excel in the field. And I love that you brought up that you were waitlisted twice and you really, persisted and held on to hygiene, because the reality is it feels very big in the moment for people who are waitlisted or maybe they don't pass their boards right away. But once they're in the op, all that stuff is behind the scenes, right? It doesn't matter. You can have a beautiful career after the fact, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I
I
feel
think
like a
that
lot of big
yeah, sorry,
time,
go
like
ahead.
people that are really like, like some of the best hygienists have been people that were like either turned away from school or waitlisted or something like that. I was told from a school before that I didn't have a high enough GPA, even though I had a 4.0. That's a whole nother story. But, and like, I'm probably one of the most dedicated people. And like most of the people I know, it's the same thing. So it's like, well, you missed out on an opportunity to say that person graduated from my school.
For sure, I think that's such a good point, Nicole, because I feel like that dedication for us to be applying again and again, saying that, you know what, I really am passionate about this. I really do want it. And then once you're getting in there, you're much more resolved in the fact that you want to be there and that you want to do well at what you're doing.
Mhm.
Not to say
Yeah.
that first time tries aren't going to be just as ideal, but for sure, if you've if you've missed out on it the first time, you're like, oh man, no, I got to do better than that.
Yeah.
You
And it
fight for
was,
your right.
yeah, and it was startling for me too, like going into hygiene school as an assistant. I was an assistant for 15 years and I went in and I was like, oh, this should be cake. It's just like
Yeah.
all you're doing is cleaning teeth, but it's all the same thing that an assistant does when, it's vastly different. So it was incredibly humbling for me as well to go in and be like, wow, there's so much more responsibility to this. When you become the provider, you're no longer someone else is overseeing you. And I don't think I understood that fully until I got into the depths of things. So I relate to
Mhm.
that very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So now, Fiona, you've been a hygienist for how many years is it?
13 years now.
13 years, long
Yeah.
time, double digits.
Lucky
So
13.
now, a lot of us know you from social media. We know that we mostly know you as Mouthbox. So, what's the goal of your social media account? What kind of content do you share, and how do you
Mhm.
try to help people?
Yeah, so Mouthbox, I've had it for quite a while now. I started the the concept of the account to kind of be like a digital business card for myself. I started doing speaking engagements in 2017. I had a lot of people come up to me and say, I really want to attend your next lecture. When is it going to be? And maybe at the time I didn't even know when that was going to be. So I was like, okay, I need to hold on to this audience. I need to hold on to this crowd. So I created an account, Instagram account, which, funny enough, I barely used Instagram at that time. Which was like literally 2018. And I took like a social media course. I'm like, I need to make sure I'm that person that does this. I'm like, am I doing this right? Let me check in and make sure I'm doing this right. So took a social media course and then kind of went from there. So initially, my account was really more so kind of like a follow along with me and a little bit of like education. Since then, it's really, and I didn't expect this initially, but it's really kind of like sparked a lot of my creativity that I have for other aspects outside of dentistry, which I really love. And so it's become more of a follow my journey, attain goals with me, some education in there as well too. And then still here's my next project. This is what I'm working on. Let's do this together kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. I love seeing your content because I feel like you're always up to something different. So you're a good person to follow. If there's anybody who doesn't follow you yet, they should be, right? And then you have another account too, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. So at Big Sis RDH. So that account is currently in the midst of being rebranded. So it might be a little bit slower, but definitely follow along to get engaged with that. So for Big Sis RDH, that's kind of following with one of my passion projects, which is mentoring new grads leaving dental hygiene school and going into the office. So Big Sis RDH is kind of the platform for the students. And then from there, they would be able to get different resources currently. Like I have an online course that they can take to help them with some of the transition, giving them really like a blueprint of like, what are you looking for? What are the main things you're honing in on when you're leaving that school setting and going into the operatory in a dental office? There's just so much to know, so much that kind of is like running around in your head, right? When you're leaving school. And it's like, okay, so what really needs to be like the standout for me to be that hygienist that gets the job, maintains the job, gets paid what I want to be paid? A lot of those aspects come into play with that mentoring. So Big Sis is really a ground for RDH students in school and then kind of leaving school as well too, and preparation for the dental sphere.
I love that. So I'm actually a new grad myself. I just graduated 6 months ago. So
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm a baby hygienist, definitely. So I think that is such an important thing that you're offering, because I know for myself, it was very, hard to get into practice. Luckily, the office I work for is a DSO and they do offer mentors, which was incredibly helpful. But I do know a lot of students in my class that when they graduated, I mean, some of them were not doing well mentally. They were thrown into 8 patients a day. Some of them had no dental background whatsoever. And I can only imagine, plus I did an accelerated program. So we were really only clinically in school for 1 year. Everything else was online. So it was very jarring. So I think that whenever you can offer a mentoring type of community for new grad hygienists, it is such an invaluable thing. And it's such a kind thing too, because there's so many people that are judgmental in this world too, that are like, oh, well, this is easy, or you'll get it, or whatever. But when you have those kind of basic questions that, okay, maybe you should know, but like you don't have the experience to know, it's really nice to have someone that you feel comfortable with to go and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? Or, like you said, you have a blueprint. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you're offering. So that's really cool. I'd love to check that out. I think that'd be beneficial for myself and others that I know, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many times where it's like you said, like those questions that you feel like might not be, you may not want to ask them because you kind of have that like hesitancy to be like, maybe I should know this already, or maybe somebody's going to think that I shouldn't be asking this. But I think once you kind of get in there and you realize how important the field is, how important everything you're doing every step by step, you're like, okay, I really don't want to falter at any of these steps. I really want to make sure that I'm doing them correctly. That's really is key and kind of like where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm. It's so cool. And I think you're in such a unique perspective to be able to offer that advice because you are one of their professors. So you know exactly where they left off, but yet you still work clinically from time to time. So you know what that's like. Now, how often do you work clinically? And tell us a little bit about what you love about clinical hygiene.
Yeah, so I did take a year off from clinical work because I wanted to focus really on more of the business aspect and then seeing kind of more with the outside of the op aspects. But I've since started doing 1 day a week in clinical again. I do miss it. I love clinical. Like for me, it's never been I want to run away from clinical. It's just more, how can I feel more fulfilled about everything that I'm doing with my career? So I do work once a week clinically to kind of still stay in there, still see patients, still provide the care that I've really drew me to what I'm doing. And I have such a love of helping people see things in a different light, in a different parameter. And then also slight maybe OCD about cleaning. So like debriding is like right up my alley because I'm like, I have to get everything, like nothing left behind. So that's all satisfying for me.
So when you were kind of like deciding like you wanted to do something a little bit outside of the op, like what were the first kind of steps that you took to look for, like, did you already have an idea of this is kind of what I want to do outside of clinic, or were you kind of like, I want to do something outside of clinic, but I'm not sure where to go?
I really started with a love of wanting to be in the teaching sphere. That was really where I want this additionally with working clinically. That's where I was looking. And as I was looking through the college's applications, job applications and such, I was noticing, there were some things in there that I just really didn't have in my experience. And I wanted to really boost myself, make sure that I was the best candidate once I was going in for the job. So I started to apply for other roles that I thought could build me while I was waiting to be like qualified enough or have enough yearly experience to be qualified as in the teaching sphere. And my first gig that I saw was not first gig that I saw, but first one that I really like looked at it was like, okay, like I feel like this is really up my alley. Was a educational role with a dental pharmaceutical company. And so this one relied on me educating their patients, their clinics. So what things that they purchased, they would want a clinical based educator to be able to go into the offices and really discuss it with the dentist, discuss it with the hygienist assistants, whoever needed to use the product. And then they also wanted somebody who was clinical based, who could educate their sales team. Because a lot of their sales team didn't necessarily start with a dental background. So I was like, okay, perfect. This role is like just for me. This is like up that teaching alley. This is going to really help boost my resume. Needless to say, that position, I did it for about 2 years. I'll be completely honest, because a lot of people, when they look at outside of the op positions, they're like, I want the same pay. Guys, I took a huge pay cut for this because I was so aware of how much the knowledge that I was going to get from this was going to elevate me afterwards. So for me, I took a pay cut and didn't really, and at that time I made it so that it didn't really challenge my life. But sometimes that's something you have to consider when you're making a change from the op, is initially taking a pay cut to get the experience or get the knowledge that you need. And that position opened my mind or my eyes to so much more that was out there. I would say that position has given me like clarity on a lot of different things that I was able to do, to go for, how to talk to sponsors, how to talk to companies, how to talk to other faculty, like so many different aspects that really made me successful for now in what I'm doing. So, I mean, there's, once you start looking at other positions outside of the op, it may not be exactly what you had in mind. But once you start taking the opportunity to go to them, it really opens up your parameters. And that's what it did for me. And that's really where, outside of teaching, it really opened up, okay, this is what I could do. Because it started me on the role of speaking. And then a lot of other things kind of went from there.
Very cool. Okay, so you went from clinical hygiene to product educator or pharmaceutical rep.
For a dental pharmaceutical company, yep.
And then you started public speaking, and then did you go straight to being a professor there, or?
Yeah, then I was able to get that clinical-based role that I wanted from those aspects. The speaking didn't really lend towards it, but definitely what I did with the dental pharmaceutical company definitely helped towards that. And then it also gave me the time to build my further certification that I needed to be able to to teach in that realm. Yeah.
Okay. So now you've been teaching for how
long? 6 years now.
It's okay, long time.
Yeah.
A lot of us have some hygiene school trauma, right? We've had that mean professor, the crazy amount of work, the stress and everything. So I think we all think, okay, if I was a teacher, this is how I would be. So what do you do to try to be the kind of professor that you needed when you were in school and be your best self for your students? And how do you go about advocating for change in a hygiene program?
For sure. So, being the best professor, to be honest, I was very lucky. The school that I had quite a few faculty who were just like the faculty that you would have hoped you would have when you're in school. So I think I had a lot of really good role modeling initially from the experiences that I had. Actually, not just in dental hygiene school, but also in dental assisting school roles. I had some faculty that were really key in me seeing, like, how you can be, what can you focus on, how can you make approaches. And when I started school, I really wanted to, I was really passionate. I was like, yes, let's go. Come on. And I started, and then like the students would look at me and be like, okay, like I'm not feeling it today. So you start to learn that, okay, everybody's not at my level. I have to kind of meet them and like start to work on where they're at. And I definitely found that entering in with one kind of aspect or approach and making sure that I'm changing it, editing it, looking for new parameters on how to get things across or expressing things was really ideal. I can honestly say that I have very few tough conversations or difficult situations because of the way that I now approach things with students. It's made things to be a lot smoother. I think that I am a very kind of empathetic and like really patient in the way that I discuss things. And so that also lends to a lot of what I wanted for my students. I really wanted them to have somebody who felt like they were empathetic to what they were going through, who was very patient to help them with what they are going through. And sometimes it's, there's not so much I can do with finding patients and stuff like that. But, maybe I'm going to sit there and listen to the concerns that they have in that moment and get it off their chest, whatever it may be. I've just found that just empathy, number one, was really key. And then just communicating in a really calm mannerism, understanding mannerism. And that's really led me towards being, I think, a little bit more what I would love to be as an educator. And I hope that really relates through for my students.
That's awesome. So it's kind of like the same thing as, you want to treat other people the way you want to be treated. It's kind of like you want to treat the students like you would want your instructor to treat you when you were a student. And I love that you approach it in that way, because there's definitely those instructors that approach it in I deserve to be here. You will respect me no matter how I treat you. And then that's automatically a, well, I don't respect you kind of thing, and it's just, I think that that's wonderful that you at least attempt to, find that common ground. I think a lot of times instructors forget that we're all adults. There is a level of respect with an instructor and a teacher to a student, but we're all adults, and sometimes the instructors are even younger than some of the students, and we're here to work together to get to the same goal, which is to get educated and graduated. So I love your approach to that. But it seems like you have so many different really cool projects and so many things that led you up to, becoming a professor, which was your end goal, which I'm so excited that you got to do that. So what have been some of your favorite projects that you've worked on, to get to this part of your hygiene career?
Yeah, for sure. I think one that I've recently started and just kind of we're culminating into making it a little bit bigger and kind of plays again on the whole mentoring aspect is the RDH New Grad Summit. And that one I've actually partnered with Tempstars, which is a dental placement app. And the reason why, I know the founder, but we've had such a great approach to the understanding of how we want to see our professionals succeeding, how we want to see their experience evolve into the field. And what we're trying to build with this summit is that they do succeed, that they do build and have the confidence to do that. And so the summit is a in-person 1-day summit. It may change, it may form later on into something else, but right now we've identified we want it to be a 1-day. You're looking at getting a panel discussion, real life questions that you might not be getting answered in any other stratosphere. You're also getting currently assistance with how to manage or understand. Are you prepared for the boards that are coming up as well too? So it's a really great day, with Tempstars and with Mouthbox, where we can really help those new grads that are going into the op. And this is really what I wanted when I had started with my mentoring. I wanted it to be a live component because, you just get so much more out of it when something's live. Unfortunately, COVID happened like kind of in the beginning stages of when I was doing it initially. And, I had one summit happen, but then I wasn't able to kind of continue because of COVID. And so that's why I created the online course component. But yeah, the summit, it's a lot of work. Again, pulls on that experience that I got from my dental pharmaceutical role, because I used to do a lot of educational planning for that role as well too. So this really helped me to prepare for that and to really be able to offer the best that I could for students who are coming into the office.
That is so valuable. I know at the end of the last school year, I was getting so many messages from new grads about how do I negotiate for different pay, or how do I ask for a job offer in writing, or they're not offering me any mentorship. How do I ask for that? And the reality is there's just not enough time inside hygiene school to cover all of these little details. So it's so great that they have a resource to turn to. And I love that you actually partner with a staffing agency to do that, because then they can turn to that staffing agency to help them find a great job. Mm-hmm. And I love working with staffing agencies because they know the temperament of a dental mm-hmm. office, right? Yep. So they can say, hey, this is a really nice doctor, nice office. I definitely want to send you there as a new grad. It's a good place. Or they can tell you, this is maybe not the one for you. So I love that you partner with Tempstars for that. That's really, sounds like a great event.
Yeah, I actually wanted to say, just to build on what you were saying there, and I'm going to give my age away here, but when I first graduated, we did not have temping apps. Like, that was not a thing. You actually got, Joanne's number, and mm-hmm. you would be on Joanne's list, and she would call you if mm-hmm. there was a spot open. Mm-hmm. And you're basically waiting like the morning of or the day before to get a call potentially. So, mm-hmm. I mean, the especially apps like Tempstars, they're just phenomenal because it gives you so much clarity into what you can do when you want to do it. really engaging your life into something that's a little bit more ideal for you work-wise, however your life setting looks. And then also kind of, hint gives you like a little bit of freedom if you want to look at opportunities outside of the office as well too, to kind of get that into your workforce a little bit easier.
So smart. That's really good. So now we've talked to a few hygienists recently who try to plan different events, maybe CE events, or trying to build community in their neighborhood. Maybe their dental hygiene association, they're trying to plan a meeting for their local component. In your case, this mentorship program. So if there are other hygienists out there that want to throw events, have you learned any tips or practical things that they can try to implement to have a successful event?
To have a successful event, number one, network. Make sure that you are networking, whether it be for assistance that you need from companies, other hygienists, or networking with whoever it is that is going to be your demographic that is going to be coming to those events. I think kind of making a list initially and looking at the big sphere and saying, okay, what would I need for this event? And then maybe I've always had somebody else to kind of like take a quick peek and be like, okay, what am I potentially missing here? I do have some friends using, technology. I'm not one to do this part, but I've had a lot of people recommend, especially a friend of mine, using like ChatGPT. And you can go onto ChatGPT and say, okay, this is the type of event that I want to plan. What would I need to make it successful? And that, yeah, right?
Writing that one down.
Girl, write that down.
ChatGPT is my homie. It does everything for me.
I honestly, I feel like I'm a little old school because I'm still like, I'm not doing it. I'm not using the ChatGPT like that. But it helps you to really give you like a good outline. And then I wouldn't say to just kind of rest from there and use solely what it provides you, but it's a really great outline and a starting point. Kind of like using Wikipedia. It's a good starting point to further dig into other aspects and components. I would say that those are the biggest things. I would also say be realistic. Your first event will never be your best. So be realistic about it. I am slightly perfectionist, but I have held on to the component of if I continue to hold on to my perfectionism, I'm not going to be able to like see this event or see this program or see this project in its live form. So at some point I do have to release it. And so just making sure that you kind of step into that mindset as well.
I love that. So I'm actually one of those people. I'm trying to restart an ADHA component in my community. I was asked to do it by the president for our state, and I've been trying to do that, and it's hard. Our first event, we had 12 people. So I'm like, okay, all right, 12 people is better than no people. So, and I'm working on trying to get a CE together. So that was very helpful information because I kind of am just, like I said, fresh out of school, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I will definitely
That's excellent on you. 100%.
I'll pick your brain, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like trying to figure it out. Well, and that's another beautiful thing about social media is we have this really almost like a tight-knit and beautiful hygiene community, honestly. Like, I mean, whenever I have a rough day, I just feel like I can get on Instagram and I feel accepted. I feel like Instagram is probably the biggest community that we have. And it's like, everyone kind of has started to know everybody in that social media space, and everyone is so kind. Honestly, I can't tell you like how much love I have felt. And I've just started my journey, when I started hygiene school. So it's been almost 2 years now. But can you kind of tell me like what advice you would have to any, student or even just a new hygienist that's wanting to get into social media in the dental hygiene space? Like what is a good way to start? What should we be posting?
I think that I don't know if I would limit and say, okay, this is what you should post, because I love to see the creative approach of different people's minds, how they see things. So, I would say don't limit yourself to what you see everybody else posting. If you want to convey something, you do it in your parameter. And you never know, that might actually be like the new way of doing it, and you'll start a new niche. Who knows? But I think the number one thing is kind of like go for it, right? Kind of that same back in the what I just said before. Don't be like, so, okay, this is not perfect and this is not that. And it's really, and I'm sure you both having social media accounts can attest to this. Like you continue to grow and to change and rearrange and make a different approach as you go along. So no matter where you started, 3 months from then, you're not going to be the same approach. 6 months from then, you're going to be an altered approach. And I can say that's the same for me the entire way. And so whatever you start with can easily be changed. And so don't worry about it. Just get started. This one's a big one for me, please. Like everybody, if you're showing imaging videos and it has to do with like real situations, procedures, whatever, make sure you're following the guidelines of your local regulatory bodies. They are watching. They are very much watching. I can't tell you, I've gone to like meetings and they'll like bring up, not in a negative way, but they'll talk to me about stuff. And I'm like, my account, like what's going on here? I've never gotten in trouble. No, this is not a trouble topic, but they are watching. So, and I do sometimes, like, I'll be honest, like I do sometimes cringe when I see some approaches and they're looking more towards the visual appeal versus I am a licensed professional and I should be showing something in a certain parameter or doing something in a certain parameter. So just making sure that you're holding true to that. I would hate to see anybody lose their license over like the appeal of social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I really appreciate that because I had started my account originally for myself just to kind of, I wanted to watch my journey. And if I went back just this past weekend and looked at some of my first original ones and I was like, oh, that's cringy. But, it was for me. I never expected, for my journey to go the way that it has. And I'm very thankful and blessed for that. But it's opened so many opportunities, but at the same time, I didn't really even know I was just kind of posting like what I was doing at the time. And then just this past week, I work in a large practice and there's 4 doctors and they told me that they found my social media and they sat through an entire meeting and looked through the entire thing. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I don't think I have anything, and I don't post anything inappropriate. I don't curse on any of my stuff or anything like that. So I think I was okay with it, but but that's like you were saying, you never know who's looking, especially if you have a public presence. Yep. So I think that that's a fantastic way to do it. I also had a situation when I was in school that I had posted like a picture of this x-ray and it didn't have anybody's name or anything like that. It was just this really cool thing. And someone's like, this is a violation. You need to take this down. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
So, those are the things you really do need to think about. I did take it down or whatever, but it was just, you have to be careful with what you're posting. And especially if you have an end goal that's on a more professional route, you need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah. I'm also going to add in where you're posting too, because I know a lot of us are really excited to show like things in our ops. But the dentist that you're working with or the owner of that practice may not also be as avid to want their office or operatories in on social media, or maybe not even on social media, but just in conjunction with what your topic is. So you also have to make sure that that's, and you'll notice a lot of my content does not have operatories anymore or stuff like that, because I don't want to kind of get into that parameter where it has been a concern for me in the past and a lot of other influencers that I know. So just keeping that in mind as well too. Getting full consent from the owner of the clinic before you do any imaging.
Yeah, like when I was in school, my school followed me and I did a lot of stuff in our clinic, but it was more because, we were a school and it was originally my whole thing was for students to have, an idea of what to look forward to, what school was going to be like, what that kind of a thing. But my school followed me. Their social media followed me. They would like comments. They would comment on things. Again, there was never anything negative, never anything that they were like, you need to take this down. but I was very cognizant of that because I could see that they would follow me. I could see they would like things. And it was almost
Yeah.
like in a, hey, we're watching you kind of
Or
way.
yeah, that would feel super stressful for me.
Now, Fiona, for those of us who do have social media, though, sometimes brands will approach us. They'll say, "Oh, we want to send you something. Do you mind
Mhm.
posting about our product?" Or
Yeah.
sometimes brands want to work with you on a paid basis. Do you have any advice about what companies you choose to work with and how to have good relationships with those people?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question because it's such a hard, um, like a hard topic, and it's nuanced, and it's just something that's still kind of like growing because even you mentioned, like our dental community is really nicely knit now, but it wasn't like that when I first started 2018 with my account. There was pretty much no dental community. So um, it's something that's still growing, and a lot of companies are now starting to really be like, okay, these are people who we do want to tap into as resources and have them working with our companies. So you can you can definitely work with whatever company I feel like you see yourself believing in their product. You see that product is I would say of quality. I'm not going to stipulate what anybody feels quality is, but like it should be something that you feel is helpful, not harmful, potentially researched. As a licensed professional, you don't want to promote something that's not, like along those lines. Um, and dealing with the component of, do I do this for free or do I get paid? It's a hard one because there's a lot of times where you look at a product and you're like, you know what, I really want to try this. I really believe in it. I really want to work towards it. Um, and you can ask. I particularly like there might be some products that I want to work with or companies, and they don't necessarily claim to have a budget, or maybe I'm not sure if they have a budget for social media. You can say to them, first of all, make sure that whatever somebody's trying to send to you or gift you, do they require you to create some kind of content or deliverables with that? That's the number one thing. I do not accept anything for free if I'm required to create. This has to be I want you to try it. There's no strings attached to this. I want to make that content because I love it, not because I'm being required to and for no charge. The next thing is saying to them, okay, well, let's make a deal about how we can create content with this. And if they say that they don't have a budget for it, that's going to be up to you in that moment. If you feel strongly enough about it to utilize that product, and then you can kind of come back to them and say, okay, well, then let's do this. And hopefully this will create a great relationship so that once you do have a budget, we can discuss with at that time to do something. You can look at it as, okay, no way, I don't want to do it at all because I'm not getting any kind of compensation. Again, they would be paying for your exposure to your audience and beyond. They'd be paying for your clinical knowledge and exposure, right? And then your creatistic approach, or whatever type of approach that you are bringing to the table, to put that up there. That's a lot of different parameters and it doesn't take, it's not easy. It is not easy as well too, right? Like actually it takes time. So like I'm sure you both can attest to this. Like it takes time to do this work. So those are a lot of components to not be paid for. So you have to think about, is this important enough for me to go ahead with it? And then if they do say, yes, we have a budget, we want you to make some deliverables, let's do this together. Don't think that you have to take that first offer as well too. Discuss with them what you feel your amount is that you would like to receive for that, and then negotiate from there.
Yeah, very wise advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, Fiona, we've seen you do so many things. We've seen you do mission trips. We've seen you modeling different scrub brands. We've
Yes.
seen you teaching product lab, working clinically. We're really excited to see your summit together with Tempstars continue to grow. Is there
Mhm.
anything else we should look out for from you in the future?
Um, I think for in the future, like I will definitely have more projects. I'm just that person. I'm always wanting to do more, having like ideas and just wanting to see how I can get them to come to life. So there definitely will be more projects. Definitely with Big Sis RDH. That one's my next one, a focus. That will be really. Um, I really want that to grow in a really positive light. I have a lot of ideas for it and a lot of excitement in the mentoring that it can provide for the new grads. I think a lot of self growth and career growth coming up. I am currently 7 months pregnant, so another baby on the way. So that'll be very interesting to see how I can fit all of this together with being like a mom of two. So maybe Nicole, I'll have to take some notes from you on that because you're almost a mom of three with your dog.
Right. I'll be down.
Well, that's
um,
beautiful. We're so proud of all you do, and we're so thankful that you share your knowledge with us in our community. And we just can't wait to see the different projects you get into. But we know for the next few months, we're going to let you chill and focus on what's most important with this baby on the way.
yeah, absolutely.
But I can also tell
Um,
just with your drive and stuff, you're not going to have any problem with that. You have such passion for what you do and for the community that we have that even with that baby, doing you're going to be doing great things. So I'm
Probably.
excited.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
if you look back to being a new grad, what piece of advice would you have given yourself back then?
hmm I think that the number one thing that I would love to have done for myself that I didn't do was travel more. I didn't take the time to take a break after I left school. I was just so like, I have to get in there. I need to get a job. I need to do this. I wish I had taken a moment to kind of travel a little bit. And I'm not saying like I need to go across Europe or anything like that, but just something that kept me still enjoying life versus going straight from school, which is so stressful, and then going into a new job, which is so stressful. And I mean, given your whatever you can handle in your life circumstances and what have you, but just whatever it may be, maybe you're going for like a road trip and you go for a week or whatever it may be, just make an experience that really will help you to kind of enjoy that movement from school to work and not have you from one stressful spot to another stressful spot right away. I think the other thing is I would have temped more. Again, wishing that Tempstars was around back when I was a new grad, so that I could have found offices and jobs really easily. And then also be like, here's the other component for an app like Tempstars, where you can be paid an acceptable amount being a new grad. I had an experience as a new grad where I was severely underpaid, probably less than the assistant. And they looked at me in my face and said, because you don't have enough experience. So, that's something else that's really great about Tempstars and apps like this, is that you're going to get that level of, you can't really like mess around with me on payment in that aspect, which is really good. But yeah, temping really, really helps in the way that you can see what is out there. And even for like Nicole, I was doing assisting before. Sometimes you get locked on, this is how this one office is that I work in, and this is how all of them might be. So even though you've been in the field, you might have only been at that one office and been like, this is what dentistry is like. Meanwhile, if you tempt a bit, you could see that there's different approaches, different kind of ways of running offices, and something that might be along the lines of what you feel is more to your liking, and would really help you to just enjoy dentistry the most, because that's the number one thing. Falling into that office and feeling like you can't go into anywhere, and then just hating the career because of the people, the office, or the parameters, versus like that you could find something a little better. So that's I'm a huge proponent for temping in the beginning as well.
Yeah. That's one of my big regrets too. I feel like I just kind of went on interviews. They offered me a job and I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that one. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
let's go with this.
But
Yeah.
yeah, because I didn't really understand how vastly different the office environment could affect your joy and your
Yeah.
love for hygiene and your patient care. So I
Yeah.
think that's really wise advice to see what else is out there.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned Temp Stars. I'm so excited because I just found out that they don't charge a placement fee when you hire someone permanently. And because I'm an office manager, it hurts me so much when we have to pay a placement fee when we hire someone from an agency. It's a lot of money, and
Mhm.
temp rates are really high. So a lot of offices are struggling. So I think that's really cool that if you hire someone from Temp Stars permanently, you don't have to worry about that placement fee. So I'm excited they're expanding to the US. I just heard about that. So I'm ready for them to come to New York.
Yeah.
When they-
Yeah, they're definitely growing stronger, much stronger. They're one of the highest used apps right now, but
Mhm.
for sure that growth in the US is coming there too.
Mhm. All right, Fiona, it's our last question of the day. So, if you think back to your career, what's something you feel like it took you far too long to learn that you wish you could have figured out sooner?
Oh my God, how to advocate better.
Mhm.
How to stand up for myself a lot better, a lot stronger.
Mhm.
Um, that is something that I do focus on with my mentoring component,
Mhm.
but just making sure that I can advocate well. And it really, I think my lack of advocating effectively really held me in like um, worse conditions or lower pay, a lot of different components that just weren't right, held me in those spaces a lot longer.
Mhm. Yeah. Good advice. Well, Fiona, it has been such a pleasure having you on the Hygiene Elevated podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And anybody who's not following you, they'll find you at Mouthbox. And we thank you so much for everything. Thank you, Nicole, for hosting with me.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on with us. It was so great to kind of get to know more about you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I really love also, again, what you guys are doing with the podcast and keeping it, educated throughout the longevity of the career, what's out there, what's going on. I think it's so needed.
Mhm. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yay.